Okay, everyone, we are going to get started. I know folks, it's early in the morning, and so I'm assuming people will be coming in as they get here, but hopefully nobody has had any technical issues. So a few housekeeping reminders before we begin. So during our presentations, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. So you'll not have access to your cameras or your microphones. But during the breakout, we will enable your cameras and microphones so you can engage in conversation with your groups. If you have a question during a presentation, please submit them in the chat. We've been collecting those questions and then submitting them back to panel members. Just as you can see, this session is being recorded, and we will send a link to all registered attendees after the conference. Breakout rooms will not be recorded. So I'd like to take a moment and recognize the land on which we stand today. We acknowledge that this land in New Jersey is the ancestral territory of the Lenape people. We pay respect to Indigenous people throughout the Lenape diaspora, past, present, and future, and honor those that have been historically and systematically disenfranchised. We also acknowledge that the colleges in New Jersey and the United States as a nation were founded upon exclusions and erasures of Indigenous peoples. So our conference goals, just as a brief reminder, are to spread awareness about college student food insecurity, as well as other basic needs to the statewide audience of diverse stakeholders. And it was really great to see so many different groups and organizations and colleges represented yesterday. To deepen attendees' understanding of college student food insecurity and other basic needs insecurity as a social justice issue. To discuss policy, advocacy, and innovative programs and practices to address student food insecurity, and to build connections and encourage collaborative approaches to addressing these issues among institutions across the state. So let's get our day started. Today, we ask you to focus on what New Jersey can do to address hunger-free campuses. We hope that by the end of the conference, participants will be able to envision hunger-free college in New Jersey and to think about ways that we can work collectively to make that a reality. So at this time, I would like to introduce Rutgers University New Brunswick Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Dr. Salvador Mena, to kick off day 2.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Dr. Salvador Mena, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs here at Rutgers University New Brunswick. I also serve as the chair of our Basic Needs Task Force, a campus-wide initiative to address this issue on our campus. I'm thrilled to greet you this morning and acknowledge the work that we're doing across the state to address food insecurity and other basic needs insecurities on our campuses and in our communities, and to gain insight into the ways that we can collaborate, share best practices, and continue to ensure that our students are successful in the time that they're with us. Addressing basic needs and insecurities for our students and is integral to the work that we all do for our campuses across New Jersey. If a student is hungry or homeless, their ability to be successful in the classroom is diminished. Their road to attaining a degree is not smooth, and we all want our students to graduate and go out and be successful, to attain their degrees and to thrive as members of our society. If we can provide the resources to ensure their success, then we're doing our job. This morning, I am pleased to welcome Dr. Brian Bridges. Dr. Bridges currently serves as the Secretary of Higher Education for the state of New Jersey. As Secretary, Dr. Bridges is responsible for policy development and coordination of higher education activities for the state, including supporting institutions amid the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And thank you for that leadership. He also coordinates initiatives to improve college affordability in New Jersey and enhance post-secondary opportunities. Dr. Bridges previously served as Vice President of Research and Member Engagement at the United Negro College Fund in Washington, D.C. Prior to joining the United Negro College Fund, Dr. Bridges served in various leadership roles both on and off campus, including Vice Provost for Diversity, Access, and Equity at Ohio University. He also served as Associate Director of the Center for Diversity, Access, and Equity at Ohio University, Associate Director of the Center for Advancement of Racial, Ethnic, and at the American Council of Education, and Associate Director at the National Survey of Student Engagement that many of us are familiar with. So I'm very pleased to welcome Dr. Bridges here to discuss the New Jersey Hunger Free Campus Grant. program. Thank you, Dr. Bridges, for joining us.
Thank you, Vice President Mena. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to join you as we work together to end hunger in New Jersey. I want to give a special thanks to our Rutgers colleagues for convening this conference, made possible through the Hunger Free Campus Grant Program that I'll speak about in greater detail shortly. Now, yesterday, many of you heard from Governor Murphy, who shared our whole of government approach to combating food insecurity in New Jersey. It takes a collective commitment among all economic sectors to acknowledge and address these challenges. Today, I'll dive deeper in and share how my team at the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education has strategically leveraged federal funding to help ensure that students' basic needs are met during this unpredictable time. But before I do, I'm a researcher at heart, and so I want to share with you what the data tells us when it comes to students' abilities to meet their basic needs. When students struggle with food and housing insecurity in particular, their focus shifts to survival rather than academic performance, completing their degree, engaging with peers, or managing their health. None of our students, especially those who are most vulnerable, should go hungry or skip a meal, yet we know this is a reality for many amid the ongoing pandemic, which only exacerbated the situation that many students found themselves in before. In February 2020, for example, just weeks before New Jersey confirmed its first COVID-19 case, we joined our colleagues at the Hope Center for College, Community, and Justice in releasing the findings of a survey conducted among New Jersey community college students. This assessment was the first of its kind for the state, and the results could not have come at a better time, given the magnitude of unprecedented challenges that laid ahead. More than 9,000 students participated in the survey. That's a pretty good, robust sample. And results indicated that almost 40% of those respondents were food insecure in the prior 30 days before the survey. 44% of them were housing insecure, and 14% were homeless in the previous year. Among those students experiencing basic needs insecurity, 70% reported being unable to afford childcare, which illustrates how basic needs insecurities are often compounded. While these findings are only limited to community college students, the national results from the Hope Center's most recent Real College survey suggest that students experiencing basic needs insecurity at four-year institutions are even less likely to seek campus assistance and access public health benefits than their peers attending two-year colleges. In addition, earlier this week, we released the findings of a fall 2021 questionnaire administered by our office to learn more about the impact of COVID-19 on students' mental and physical health and financial well-being. The results of the survey reveal the pandemic's severe economic, financial, and mental toll among the more than 15,300 undergraduate and graduate students who participated. Many indicated that they are feeling even more stressed and impacted now than in 2020 when the pandemic first hit. About 13% of all those respondents said they were concerned that they would not have enough food to eat in the next 30 days. 13% of those 15,000 students, which is we did the sampling and the statistics, and it's a pretty representative sample of New Jersey college students. Among Hispanic, Black, American Indian, and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander respondents, 76% rated their stress level as higher compared to 64% among white respondents, higher than the year before. About 55% of respondents who identified as student parents indicated childcare was a major or moderate struggle to afford, with 63% of single parents noting these expenses as major challenges. These jarring findings and others within the survey, I encourage you to go to our website to look at the report that's in a deck. These findings demonstrate the pandemic's disparate effects on New Jersey's marginalized communities. Opportunities exist for colleges and universities to ensure that every student, regardless of life circumstances, is equitably supported. One of those opportunities include the Hunger Free Campus Grant Program. So given this data, we are evaluating how we can increase the use of existing campus supports and public assistance, foster new solutions, and better align services statewide. Last summer, I joined Governor Murphy in announcing the recipients of more than $1 million in federal funding that supports the goal of the Hunger Free Campus Act, signed by the governor in 2019. Funding is being used to address student hunger, leverage more sustainable solutions to address basic food needs on campuses, raise awareness of currently offered campus services, and continue building strategic partnerships at the local, state, and national levels to address food insecurity among students. We look forward to learning from the innovative strategies that our institutions are employing to improve the health and well-being of students that share promising practices among each other to achieve greatest impact. Later this morning, you will hear from my OSHE colleagues, as well as our Hope Center partners, about the work we are actively engaged in to empower institutions, faculty, staff, and students to connect with public assistance. We are particularly focused on improving access to and uptake in the SNAP program, a transformative line of defense against hunger. One of the many goals of our state plan for higher education is ensuring safe and inclusive learning environments and aligning funding with our student-centric mission so all students are supported, regardless of life circumstance. Thank you again to our Rutgers partners for convening us in an effort to learn from and tackle these tremendous challenges collaboratively. Thank you again for the opportunity to address you this morning, and I look forward to the results of this conference.
Thank you, Dr. Bridges. We appreciate your time this morning and for all the work you're doing to support our students as we navigate this time. So I think next we're going to be moving on to our first panel. And so I'm Carrie Wilson. I am Associate Dean of Students and Director of Off-Campus and Community Partnerships here at Rutgers University, New Brunswick. And what I'd like you to do is join me in welcoming our first panel. We're delighted to have them all here with us today. Each presenter will do a brief presentation, and then we will open the floor for Q&A. Please feel free to type any questions into the chat at any point, but we will not address them until all the presentations are completed. Panelists, I will let you know when you have 1 minute left in your allotted time. Just a quick note, Assemblyman Speaker Coughlin was going to join us this morning, but actually had to go meet with the Vice President of the United States. So we accepted that. And if he can hop on for a call briefly, he will, but we're not sure that he'll be able to join us this morning, but we do appreciate all of his efforts. He really is truly a champion in this fight against hunger in our state and a driving force behind numerous pieces of legislation that have helped to ensure residents of New Jersey have access to healthy food, including the Hunger-Free Campus Act. So our first presenter will be Adele LaTourette. Adele, please, you're welcome to start sharing your screen.
Okay.
And Adele is, now I lost my notes, hold on. Adele is the director of Hunger-Free New Jersey and has led the organization since its inception in 1980. She's the leading voice in New Jersey's anti-hunger and nutrition community, serves as a resource to emergency food coalitions throughout the state, and her leadership has earned her state and national recognition. So Adele, we appreciate you being here this morning.
Thank you so much. And if I could figure out how to make this a full screen PowerPoint, I'd be very happy. It did work actually.
Yeah, you just have to hit slideshow. Yep, there we go.
Wonderful. Okay. So yeah, my name is Adele LaTourette. I am the director of Hunger-Free New Jersey. The goal of Hunger-Free New Jersey is basically to make sure that every New Jerseyan has access to healthy food throughout the year. We change policy and practice. We are working towards this goal. We lead statewide efforts to combat hunger across the Garden State, and we work enormously with policymakers, community leaders, and other advocates to advance change that promotes healthy food to all New Jersey residents. I'm going to go through some of the things that are happening federally and also what we're looking at statewide. Speaker Coughlin, I'm so excited that he's meeting with the Vice President. He so deserves it. He has been such a champion on this issue and really has been an innovator and worked hand in hand with anti-hunger advocates across the state to really really beef up the federal feeding programs, emergency food programs, and really focus on transforming the issue of hunger in New Jersey. So the one thing they saw release federal efforts to support student basic needs. So the U.S. Department of Education released $198 million in ARPA funds to support college students. These funds are prioritized for community colleges and rural institutions, and the basic needs are defined as you see: housing, food security, connecting students to SNAP and other programs. In New Jersey, we will have $5 million to be spread between 6 community colleges, and Passaic County Community College is the recipient of the funds in New Jersey. We do not have their plan yet. Their plan, they will be developing internally. Hopefully they will share it and we can all take a look at kind of what their plan is and see what they're going to be doing. Okay, great. Okay, so federally, there's not a lot, honestly, federally happening around college hunger. I think that's really one of the advocacy things we have to talk about and that's really what my piece is all about, is you need to know that your voice makes a difference. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you're from, you have a voice and it's important that you use it. So we have the EATS Act. We have had this act kind of back and forth for a number of years, and it would expand student eligibility for SNAP by counting simply attending an institution of higher education as a form of complying with SNAP's work requirements. We actually have pretty much a similar, very similar bill on the state level, but this change has to happen at the federal level. So we need to focus on federal change in SNAP for this particular issue, as well as a variety of other issues. And that means getting in touch with your congressperson, your senator. It is important for New Jersey to kind of wrap up in terms of signing on to this legislation before voting on it. So far, we only have 2 members who have signed on, and that's Representative Sears from the 8th District and Watson Coleman from the 12th District. Again, you can have a voice in this. Call your congressperson and say this is important, just as a show of support. And then obviously, when this bill comes up, either as part of the Farm Bill, which is the reauthorization legislation for SNAP, or on its own, that they vote in favor of this critical issue. State legislation, we have a lot going on. The problem with some of the state legislation that's been put forth, again, and I'm talking about the second one, particularly 1197, is it's dependent on a change in federal law. So we have to make sure that the change that we're looking for goes, that our efforts go towards where that change can happen. So it's so important that you communicate with your congresspeople. I know, I feel like a broken record. Talk to them about the issue. Talk to them about the importance of SNAP. We just heard SNAP absolutely is the frontline defense against hunger in this country. We have seen maximization of SNAP during COVID. That will be going away. We will need to really focus on access to SNAP and ideally increasing benefits. I know we did see an increase that the Biden administration put through, but honestly, we need more. We need SNAP to really serve people in their ability to buy food for a month long. So let's go through this quickly. A349 exempts students from the 20-hour weekly work requirement in SNAP. Again, I'm sure Deputy Commissioner can address this, but my understanding is I think this has to be changed in federal. 1197 has to be changed in federal. 2257 designates each community college. I can't see because sorry, something just came up on my screen. As a provider of eligible services under SNAP ENT. That's been introduced, not yet referred to committee. 1460 and 1163, the way this relates to education is basically it would allow certain restaurants operated by higher ed to take the SNAP program, which I think would be helpful for those students who are on SNAP to actually have a resource on campus where they could buy food with their SNAP benefits. A1003 NS 1135 requires the department to develop an outreach plan. Again, I'm sure the Deputy Commissioner will address this to inform certain students about SNAP. The Assembly version has passed. Senate version only got through the Budget Committee, so we have to watch how this progresses and make sure, again, that as it progresses, your voices are heard. You can always do a slip of support for the bill or actually come and provide testimony, it would be great. See you there. So again, the heart of this is enlisting support from elected officials. You need to reach out. This is an issue that has been talked about more and more, I think, pre-COVID and certainly because of COVID. And it's something that we really have to make sure stays on people's radar. One of my concerns is that we're gonna start to lose some of the important lessons that we learned from COVID. And I think it's really important that we don't lose them and we keep working on them. Engage your network to send messages. All of you have friends, all of you may belong to clubs, you may belong to a variety of different things. The more voices that amplify this message, obviously, the more it will be heard and paid attention to. What more can be done? Again, one of the issues that has been bubbling up is universal meals. There are states that are doing universal meals, all K to 12. I don't understand what people don't understand about the fact that if a student needs free reduced price school meals in K to 12, what's going to change when they go into college? Nothing is going to change. They're still going to need those meals. Again, that conversation is evolving. We need to push it. We really need to focus on the fact, let's go beyond what we're doing now. Let's go beyond the programs that exist now. Let's create new programs to really address the problem as we are seeing it. For more information, you can go to our website. You can connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm hoping soon we will have an Instagram account. I somehow doubt we'll have a TikTok, but you never know. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Adele. We appreciate all the work that you do. And I'm just, so we did have Assemblyman Coughlin on the line, but we seem to have lost him. So I'm just checking to see. Okay, so I think we will go on to, wait, I'm sorry, what is, getting message, not on. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next panelist, and hopefully Assemblyman Coughlin will be able to join us in a little while. So Deputy Commissioner Nera, if you'd like to start sharing your screen, please do. Okay, great, thank you. So I would like to welcome Elisa Nera, is the Deputy Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Human Services, overseeing the Division of Family Development, the Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, the Division of Deaf and Hard of Hearing, the Division of Disability Services, and the Office of New Americans. Under her leadership, the Division of Family Development has made changes to SNAP that allow more college students and others in New Jersey to access these critical benefits. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really sorry because I'm having some difficulty, so my Zoom seems to be not working properly. So I just want to make sure you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it. If you want to go into presentation mode, you can hit from beginning and we'll be able to see full screen of your, yep, perfect.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you so much for the introduction and for having me today. Really excited to join this panel with some of my colleagues and folks that that I've gotten to work with to address food insecurity in New Jersey, and particularly with college students. As you mentioned, I'm Elisa Nera, Deputy Commissioner at the New Jersey Department of Human Services. We are the SNAP agency in New Jersey. So I was asked to tell you about the actions and the steps that we've taken to advance the food security of New Jerseyans, including college students. And I want to echo the words around Speaker Coughlin. He has been a champion pushing many pieces of legislation to address food insecurity. And we have had the privilege to work in partnership with him to advance our shared goals. And as Adele mentioned, New Jersey SNAP is a lifeline for many families in New Jersey and an important tool for us to combat food insecurity. SNAP helps stretch the food budgets of thousands of New Jersey residents and helps them afford nutritious and healthy food. And we know how critical that is to improving health outcomes, economic stability, and academic success. During COVID, certainly food security concerns grew, but we have also seen unprecedented levels of funding go to programs like SNAP and other food assistance benefits. So for example, in New Jersey, we have now distributed over $2 billion in additional SNAP payments to over 900,000 New Jerseyans. We are also able to activate online shopping for SNAP households, and we have seen more and more food retailers make this an option available for families who are buying food using their SNAP benefits so they can do so online. We've also taken steps to modernize some of our systems to make it easier for people applying to SNAP. We've launched a mobile app, Connect EBT, which allows SNAP recipients to manage their EBT cards directly from their mobile phones. And we were really pleased to see last October, the Biden administration and USDA permanently increased SNAP benefits by roughly 23%. This is huge. These increases are not tied to COVID, so they are permanent. And will help New Jerseyans stretch their food budgets even further. Since the onset of the pandemic, we have seen more than 240,000 New Jerseyans benefiting from SNAP, in addition to our normal caseload. SNAP is available to New Jerseyans who are low income and have limited resources, and that includes college students. For college students, they need to meet certain income and resources criteria. So for example, the maximum allowable income, monthly income for a one-person household is $1,986, and a one-person household can receive up to $250 in SNAP benefits. The program is open to college students who are between the ages of 18 and 49 and are enrolled at least half-time in an institution of higher education. And in order to qualify, they have to meet at least one student exemption. And I'll get into that in the next slide. So in addition to meeting sort of income, resource, citizenship, and immigration eligibility, they also have to meet a student exemption. So there are many ways that students can meet that student exemption. They only have to meet one. So for example, age, obviously if they're under the age of 17 or over 50, that is one way to meet that condition. There are work-related ways that you can meet that student condition. For example, if you are working part-time, at least 20 hours a week, or you are enrolled or participating in a work-study activity. If students are enrolled in community, for example, in community colleges, and they are in a career and technical education program, that is another way. Or they are responsible for the care of a child under 6 or are full-time and single parent with a child under 12. During the pandemic, we had options available to adjust the application process and eligibility requirements to make it easier for students to apply for SNAP benefits. So for example, we did away with having a phone interview requirement as part of the application process in efforts to speed up approval for benefits. I mentioned in the slide before that one of the student conditions is that they are participating, they're approved and participating in a work study program. During the pandemic, the federal government allowed us to waive the requirement that they had to participate in the work study program. So simply by being approved for work study, students are now able to meet that student condition, as well as students who had an expected family contribution of $0 in their FAFSA for the current academic year. That was another way to meet that student exemption. It's important for you to know that these flexibilities remain in place. They will remain in place throughout the federal public health emergency, which was extended, was just extended, I think, for another 30 days, and then 30 days after it expires. We have been laser focused on food security issues, as Secretary Bridges noted. It's been a whole government approach to really address food security concerns and focusing on college students. We have been working with our colleagues at OSHE and the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority. They have been great partners. And throughout these partnerships, we've done a number of things. We've conducted several trainings for financial aid counselors across New Jersey. We have been able to reach about 300 financial aid counselors who now are trained on SNAP and are better equipped to connect students to SNAP and how to make those referrals. Our SNAP outreach partners have also been strategically working with colleges and universities to bring information about SNAP directly to students and assist them with applications. And HISA, actually, when the federal government waived the actually allowed for students with a zero family contribution to meet the student exemption, they did direct outreach to over 180,000 students who met that criteria to make sure they were aware of the change and would connect them, to apply to SNAP. We have done outreach to colleges and universities, encouraging them to add SNAP information on their websites and linking students to our SNAP application. We obviously started with our own website, and we have dedicated a page for college students in our njsnap.gov website. Wanted to show you an example of what Rutgers has done. This is pages from Rutgers, New Brunswick and Rutgers Camden. They have now put information about SNAP, New Jersey Family Care, which is our Medicaid program, and childcare, so their students are able to get connected to these critical services. Certainly, there is a lot more than we can do, and I think these spaces are great reminders of what opportunities exist to continue to advance our shared goal of hunger-free college campuses, ways that we can continue to increase awareness and more direct access for students. We're also continuing to work on ways that we can modernize our application tools to make it easier for people to apply. Expanding our partnerships with higher education institutions. We're always looking to expand and strengthen these partnerships. And certainly what ways we can engage more students. We know that peer-to-peer support works. I have seen it. I've had interns here who have come back to tell me, working for Human Services, they felt more equipped, learning about SNAP, they felt more equipped, helping students who may need extra cash to buy food, helping them navigate the SNAP process. So that is another way that we can continue to engage students and peer-to-peer support. And last, I wanted to make sure you know where you can go to apply for SNAP, njhelps.org. Students are able to screen under 10 minutes to see if they are eligible. The application can take a little bit longer because it asks questions about their household and their income and other things. And we always want to make sure that students know this is a tool that is available and come in and apply and find more information about SNAP. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Nera. We really appreciate you being here with us today. So I understand Assemblyman Coughlin was able to join us. So I wanted, again, just to recognize what a true champion he has been in the fight against hunger in our state. He's a driving force behind numerous pieces of legislation that help to ensure residents of New Jersey have access to healthy food, including the Hunger-Free Campus Act. Assemblyman Coughlin, we're so thrilled to have you here with us today. We know that you're very busy and you have a lot going on. So good morning to you and thank you.
Well, good morning. Thank you for that. And thanks for the kind introduction. It's a pleasure and privilege to be with everybody today. Let me first apologize, as I have usually this is the way I've been starting my life for the last 30 or 40 years. Hi, my name is Craig Coughlin, and I'm sorry I'm late. So I'm sorry I'm late. I have come to understand a few things about this, other than the blue lighting, which I don't quite understand where that's coming from. you got to plug in your computer the night before, they tell me, and at least you have to check it if you're gonna count it the minute you have to get on it. So I'm sorry about being late this morning, but it is so nice to be with you, Secretary Bridges. Nice to see you again, and great job by Deputy Commissioner Nara. Thank you for that work. You know, the food insecurity is one of the things that we as a state have made a big commitment to fighting over the last 4 years. It has been something that has been central to my speakership because it really matters in the lives of people every day. We all understand how important it is for people to be well nourished, to be able to be fed, and recognize the incredibly debilitating consequences of not doing that. And I think that's particularly true among college students. Imagine if every day your first job and perhaps the only job you get to complete each day is to figure out how to feed your family, how to figure out yourself. Imagine how debilitating it must be to sit in a classroom knowing that you're hungry and that there's no place that you're going to go and get food when this is all done. So the efforts that you folks are making, that we have been able to strive for and have done some, I think, important legislation for in the Assembly and with great partners in the Senate, and Senate President Steve Sweeney, former Senate President Steve Sweeney was a great partner along with Governor Murphy. They've been there every step of the way, supporting our efforts to fight food insecurity. And, you know, a number of the things that the Deputy Commissioner talked about were things that came out of the Hunger Free Campus Act. Because when I started this process, you know, the Coughlins are very lucky. We're very blessed. When my kids all went off to college, we worried about the freshman 15. And it wasn't until I began to pay attention to what the demographics were of college students that I really came to understand the challenges that so many of our students face. And as the demographics continue to change, more veterans, more single mothers, more people striving to become successful in their careers and in their lives, oftentimes with children, we came to understand that we needed to do more in that area as well. And so, as we talked about, you know, now things like the food pantries at school, the Swipe Out Hunger program. And of course, the thing that we face the challenge of all of the time is awareness of this. Only about, I think it's 57% of people who are eligible for SNAP, college students, don't participate in it. We can do better for that. We need to work hard to try to make awareness a part of it. Deputy Commissioner talked about that. Peer-to-peer is one way of doing it. All of us getting involved and making sure that people know and that there's no stigma to receiving food from a food pantry on campus is something that we can all do. And it's an issue that that resonates with people. You know, every year I do a Bowl for Hunger event for the food pantries in the 19th Legislative District, and literally hundreds of people will come out because it's fun. You bowl, you raise money for somebody else, you eat really crappy food at a bowling alley and get to wear shorts and a t-shirt. I did a gleaning project, and a number of students from Rutgers Fight Against Hunger showed up to participate. People care about helping people. We recognize that it is more than a governmental obligation. I think it's the moral obligation for each of us to make sure that we're helping our fellow students, our fellow citizens. Care so much about this issue, and will bring us all together in a formal way. So we're doing the best that we can and making folks aware of the services and a great program like SNAP. We've increased SNAP benefits in the past, and Monday we'll roll out a package that'll be before the Agriculture Committee and the Assembly that includes 10 bills. And one resolution calling on, or 9 bills, I think, and one resolution calling on the federal government to do more on its part to help people who are food insecure. And many of those things center around making people aware of the project. It creates a call center, which will allow people to talk to a human, which is something I think is particularly important, so that people can be helped through the process of applying for SNAP benefits. In the past, we did an app on phones, but this will let people who may struggle with the technology, like me, or may struggle with the availability of the technology to begin with, to be able to do things on their phone, but can get on a regular phone and talk people through an application process. The biggest piece of the new legislation will be increasing the percentage of the federal poverty level for eligibility in SNAP. Right now, it's at 185% of the federal poverty level. The bill, the lead bill in the package we'll unveil on Monday, takes that to 200%. And in so doing, captures another 26,000 students in the state of New Jersey. This is a constant battle and a constant challenge. I wish we one day would get to the point where nobody needed food assistance. I fear that day might never come, but it doesn't mean it's not worth every ounce of effort that we can put forth to do that. And so for all of us, we need to keep on doing more and keep on the fight. Having forums like this, having people who care so genuinely and so profoundly about making the difference, is a good way to keep in touch and to make sure that we're keeping the issue in front of people, because awareness will help us overcome the challenges. And so if there's students on here, I can't see everybody on here. Thank you, and thank you for getting involved. You're going to make a difference in the world in more ways than one. And this will be one of them. So thank you all for all that you do. Thank you all for your commitment. And thank you for letting me have the privilege of a few minutes of your time. And I promise next time I'll be on time.
Thank you, Speaker Coughlin. We really do appreciate your time this morning and all the work that you're doing to support our students and to fight against hunger in the state. Jake, if you want to get your slides ready, you can start sharing your screen. And we have Dr. Jake Farbman is joining us today. He is the Executive Director of the New Jersey Center for Student Success at the New Jersey Council of County Colleges, which works with the state's 18 community colleges to improve student outcomes, strengthen services to students, and serves as a statewide resource for innovation and best practices. In addition, Dr. Farbman is an adjunct faculty member in the Communication Studies Department at the College of New Jersey. Welcome, Dr. Farbman.
Carrie, thank you. And Speaker Coughlin, thank you so much for your leadership and all of your efforts to support our community college students. And Secretary Bridges, great to see you again. Thank you for your leadership and everything you're doing to support our community colleges as well. It's great to be with all of you today and to talk about this very important topic and share with you some of the things we're doing at the community college space, and also talk to you a little bit about what more needs to be done. So our Council of County Colleges is established in state statute, and we strengthen and support the 18 community colleges throughout the state. We have some quasi-governmental responsibilities working with state government to help allocate funding, things of that nature and stature. And we really help to lead the efforts of our 18 community colleges on important issues, such as addressing students' basic needs. Now, our Center for Student Success itself is a statewide entity. We started it in 2012. We really work to help improve student outcomes. And there is a network, 17 other states, or 16 other states, I should say, have a statewide Student Success Center focused on assisting their community colleges. And we're one of the leaders in that network, which is coordinated by an organization called Jobs for the Future. Some of you may have heard of it. And I can say that New Jersey is not only a leader in helping to address student basic needs among that network, but throughout the country. And that is because of the partnerships we've all formed in working together to address student basic needs. I wanted to share a little bit with you here about community colleges. Here's a few pictures from one of our infographics. If you look, we have a large number of students who receive financial aid, a large number of students who are traditionally underserved. We are the most diverse sector of higher education. Many of our students are parents. Many of our students are first-generation college students. Many of our students are pursuing the American dream of socioeconomic mobility. And for those students, the community college is their only option, Why do I share that? Because New Jersey now has the most promising College Promise program, the Community College Opportunity Grant, paired with the Garden State Guarantee, gives students from a household of adjusted gross income of $65,000 or less the opportunity to go to college all 4 years tuition free. Critically important. But what's even more important is that while New Jersey might have the most promising College Promise program, and students have access to financial aid, that financial aid does not always account for the basic needs that students need to get through their day-to-day lives and their academic studies. So a few years ago, we launched an initiative called Vision 2028, the framework for the future of New Jersey's community colleges. And it landed on 4 key initiatives pre-pandemic. Number 4, connecting students to social services supports, helping them meet their basic needs. Because we know from the work that Sarah and her colleagues have done at the Hope Center, from the work that Secretary Bridges just shared about the pandemic, that basic needs, unmet basic needs are a serious barrier to socioeconomic mobility, because that's what it's all about. That's why higher education exists. It's about jobs, 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 and preparing students for those jobs that are here today, that are going to be here in the future. Secretary Bridges mentioned these statistics earlier. I'm not going to go over them, but clearly there is a significant percentage of our students at community colleges who are hungry, who are housing insecure, who are homeless. And as he said, with the most recent data from the Hope Center, those percentages have only increased due to the pandemic. One of the critical things about this event today is that it showcases what can happen when we broaden the partnerships. The Center for Student Success has been working with all of these organizations listed here in various roles to help address student basic needs. And we've talked for quite some time that we need to expand this to all of higher education, this coalition that Lisa and Adele have been talking about. And we're very delighted that so many of you are with us today, and we want you to join. I'll talk more about that in a couple minutes. But this is what partnerships can lead to. As Deputy Commissioner mentioned, expanding access to SNAP, expanding holistic assistance to students so they can complete the applications, the expansion of campus-based food pantries and other tactics thanks to the Hunger Free Campus Grant, expansion and increased awareness and utilization of New Jersey's best kept secret, the child care subsidy program for our students who are parents who need high quality child care while they're at work or while they're completing their academic studies, expanding access to housing insecurity assistance. We have started a statewide mental health initiative with the Department of Health and the Mental Health Association in New Jersey, because mental health is directly impacted by basic needs, by being unable to acquire food so that you can have breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. We're also expanding access to federally subsidized healthcare centers for our underinsured and uninsured. And we're also expanding the use of free open textbooks in New Jersey, because textbooks are a significant cost. Now, a little snapshot here. Many of you may not be familiar, but there's a campaign called the Red Folder Campaign. And what we're doing at all of our community colleges is we are creating folders for faculty that have mental health resources and basic needs resources so that faculty are educated and can talk to students and support them day to day. Adele talked about the additional federal funding that's coming out for community colleges to help colleges meet students' basic needs. And just a couple of considerations. One thing we can work on as a collective team is comprehensive strategy from a statewide approach and comprehensive strategy from campus approaches. Expanding access to SNAP, critical important piece. Expanding sustainable resources that can fuel our food pantries, critical piece. We need
Dr.
professional
Farbman?
development. Yeah, 1 minute
I'm going to
mark.
hop in just to let you know you have just about a little bit under a minute left. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Professional development for our gatekeepers, helping them recognize what signs and symptoms students show so that they can refer students to services that they need. We need to think about peer supports. Critically important is continuing to address the issue of stigma, sustainable federal and state investments, and how do we expand and prolong emergency aid. We've had investments from the federal government for emergency aid, but those emergencies aren't going to go away when that funding goes away. We're going to need emergency aid resources at our colleges and universities. So please join our coalition. You saw the link yesterday that Lisa talked about. If you haven't joined, please do. We need your voices. We need your wisdom. And collectively, we truly can end college hunger in New Jersey. Thank you all. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, Dr. Farbman. We really do appreciate your time today and all this great information and connecting all the pieces together, I think has been tremendous for us. So our last group to welcome, our last group is welcome to start screen sharing at this point. Our final presentation will be from Victoria Price, Nicole Kurgan, and Suchir Govindarajan. Victoria is the learning specialist at the Hope Center for College, Community, and Justice. Nicole is the Director of Communications at the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education of New Jersey, and Suchir is the Special Assistant and Policy Analyst, also at the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education. Collectively, Victoria, Nicole, and Suchir are part of the team working to develop a New Jersey statewide playbook to address college student basic needs and security. So we appreciate your time being here today. I'll probably do the same thing and sort of hop in when we have about a minute left, just to try to keep us on time. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Is everyone seeing the slides presentation view? Awesome. Great. Well, thank you for that introduction. Thank you to Rutgers for hosting this awesome conference, and to all the panelists who have presented before. I'm Victoria from the Hope Center for College, Community, and Justice. We're an action research center that also engages in policy advising, strategic communications, and we also provide technical assistance to colleges. And we've been really honored to partner with OSHI to help move forward basic needs work in New Jersey. So I'm going to pass it to Suchir, who's going to talk a bit more about OSHI.
Thank you, Victoria, and special thanks to our Hope Center partners for engaging with us in this critical issue as New Jersey works to address basic needs and securities among our students. Our vision, illustrated in our state plan for higher education, is for every resident, regardless of life circumstances, to have the opportunity to obtain a high-quality credential that prepares them for life after college. Understanding the full scope of the issue, as well as the disproportionate impact of the pandemic and the historical inequities among marginalized communities, is fundamental to our work.
Awesome. So we're going to get into just a snapshot of data that's already been spoken about. Let's see if my slide, there we go. So just to give you a little visual of this data that we've been talking about throughout this conference so far, that 3 in 5 students experience basic needs insecurity. This was a finding in the most recent Hope Center data. And you can see the breakdown here of food insecurity affecting students at 2-year and 4-year institutions, and also the data for housing insecurity and homelessness. So just wanted to remind us of the data we've been talking about this far. And also wanted to highlight that among students facing basic needs insecurity, access was very limited. And this data point on the right is really the focus of our collaboration, that more than 52% of students who were facing needs insecurity did not apply for supports because they didn't know how to. And so we really want to bring that number down. So our collaboration had 3 central focuses. The first objective was really to learn from New Jerseyans about what is already happening in terms of basic needs work on campuses. What are challenges that schools are having? What are successes that schools are experiencing? So we first hosted convenings, benefit access trainings, and also focus groups with students. And we engaged folks in conversation about their experience with the work that's going on in their campus. So drawing on the insight that faculty, administrators, students shared, we drew on that as well as some Hope Center data and research to create 2 resources, one of them being this practitioner guide, what we're calling a playbook, which helps expand existing supports on people's campuses to see what's going on already and what can be expanded. And then we also created a website to help direct students to supports that are already out there. So I'll get into these a little bit more detail. So our playbook, Enhancing New Jersey Students' Access to Basic Needs Supports. So this playbook, again, it's geared towards practitioners who are working with students on the front lines, whether that's staff, administrators, faculty. It's also aimed towards folks who are a bit more behind the scenes. And we're providing resources of evidence-based practices, things that are already happening across the state of New Jersey, things that are happening across the country as well, looking at what is working, giving some caution about practices that aren't actually helpful, but may kind of intuitively seem helpful. And we give some actionable recommendations that really vary in their level of depth. So that could be from putting a syllabus statement on basic needs supports on course syllabi or the Red Folder initiative. It also includes recommendations such as developing a campus-wide basic needs task force at your school, which is a bit more involved of a practice. And we also make recommendations about how to build supports beyond your campus, engage with community resources, and build partnerships that are lasting. So this content in the playbook, it's really focused on practitioners, and it's informed by practitioners as well. And it's informed by students themselves. We brought students into conversation to let us know what's working at your schools. You know, when you need help, where do you go, and what's working and what isn't. And so all of that really helped make sure that this guide is actually informed by students that we're aiming to serve. So the website that we've created together, the central focus is, again, connecting students to basic needs supports that are already out there. So we've compiled a directory of about over 200 statewide resources. So these are community resources, and they range in their categories of basic needs that they address. So everything from food insecurity to housing insecurity, transportation, childcare, financial and emergency aid, multiple basic needs categories. And we really give a clear description of what this program is offering, what the service is. If there are applications, we give instructions on how to fill that out, give instructions about any eligibility requirements. And so the whole idea here is to really streamline the steps between a student experiencing need and receiving that assistance. So this is a tool that students can use, but it's also a tool that folks who are working with students can say, you know, unfortunately, we don't have this resource at our campus yet, or it's not up to scale yet, but here's a centralized website of community organizations in New Jersey, organized by county. And so students can have this resource to go to start to address what they need. So very briefly, that's the products of our collaboration. We're really excited to be able to give this to practitioners who are already really engaged in this work and to help, you know, bolster the ecosystems of supports that are already existing there for students. So I'm going to pass it to Nicole, who's going to let us know when we can get our hands on these items, and she'll close us out as well.
Thanks so much, Victoria. And it's just been such a pleasure working with Victoria, Suchir, and all of our institutions and students through this process. New Jersey really does remain committed to emerging from this public health crisis as a stronger and more resilient state that fosters student success. As Secretary Bridges mentioned earlier, not only are we directing federal and state funding to overcome some of these barriers, but we're using student-centric data and their stories to drive our policymaking. To ensure true educational equity, we must improve these supports that are in place that not only help students complete college, but thrive in the workplace and beyond after graduation. And that means strong, fair supports are available to all students, regardless of where they live, their age, their zip code, especially given the racial and ethnic gaps in degree attainment that existed before the pandemic. So we look forward to the fruitful conversations that we've engaged in today to assist New Jersey in enhancing those supports that set our students on a path to success and make their roads less burdensome. We do expect the website and the playbook to be available sometime next month. We're working to finalize and cross our T's, dot our I's, and get that ready for you all to begin to dive into and use in practice. So thank you so much, and we are excited to be able to share those resources with you all.
Great, thank you so much. And I didn't have to jump in, so thank you. No, this has really been wonderful, and we've learned so much about new policy approaches and advocacy happening in New Jersey. So the work collectively that you all are doing is tremendous, and we really do appreciate it. We will be opening the floor for questions and comments now, so please do go ahead and type any questions you have for the panelists in the chat. We have been capturing the questions that were coming in throughout the various presentations, but we do encourage you all to engage and ask other questions as well. So I am going to start with, bear with me one second while I pull up the questions. Okay. So one of the questions we had was, what can be done to bridge the programs in K through 12 to the campus communities? How can we ensure students who are food insecure in grade school know the resources that exist for them on campus? And anyone can jump in, but maybe, I don't know, Jake, if you have some thoughts on that.
Start? Well, I think that the number one thing that can be done now is you need to sign up and speak up, because we don't have a meal program similar to what we have available in K to 12. And we need to make that change, as Adele outlined in her remarks. That has to be done. You've got to step up. We need you to step up, because I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face, but policymakers, legislators need to hear from students, not from suits.
I totally 100% back up what Jacob just said. They have to hear from you. You have to let them know that this is an issue.
I'd also underscore that many of our institutions are doing this work, and we've heard about it through our material hardships convening in the fall, that a lot of this work is ongoing, but can only be improved through partnership and all of the resources that we're putting together. So I do want to acknowledge that a lot of our institutions are committed to acknowledging this problem, tackling it wholeheartedly, and in the best ways that they can be.
So along those lines of advocacy, are there, I guess, any specific recommendations that you want to share in terms of how the folks, community members, college and university staff, students, what is your number one priority for us in terms of the advocacy piece for resources? Where should we dive in?
I mean, to me, I think your community itself needs to prioritize what the key resource needed is. Is it food? Is it housing? Is it, to me, it's both of those things from everything that I've been hearing. But those, you are in the field, you see what's going on, you see what's happening with students. So to me, define it. If those are the priority needs, then speak out and start an advocacy plan of action to address those needs.
I'll just echo a point that Adele, you made earlier, which I think is really important to highlight is, we have a great resource and tool in SNAP, but at times are limited because of federal regulations and law. And so I think in order for us to be able to expand the reach and really use SNAP to reach more students and for more students to take advantage of that, we need to start at the federal level. And so anything that you can do to support changes at the federal level will greatly support students here in New Jersey.
You. So another question that came up in the chat was regarding SNAP. And folks were wondering, with 30 days for approval, what options do students have while they wait?
That's a great question. We have, there are some applicants that may need what we call expedited benefits, and they may be able to receive their benefits within 7 days. These are very, folks who have very limited resources. And so for that reason, those are expedited. But yes, there is a 30-day window. The benefit is retroactive, but we understand that during that time, somebody may need assistance. I see a lot of campus pantries on, so I think those are the ways that, we direct individuals who may need assistance immediately to use other community resources for, for that interim. But yes, we recognize that that can be a challenge if students need food now, and we do have, there are many community resources, and we really, have been working with some of the college pantries to make sure that we are linking students who are coming to the pantries and making sure they know that there is SNAP and that they are signing up for SNAP as well.
Thank you. And we will touch upon some of this in our next panel as well, with some, specific programmatic initiatives that are happening on college campuses. But I know, I can just share at Rutgers, New Brunswick, we do have the ability to give students a few meal swipes or a gift card to a grocery store. Obviously, they can utilize our food pantry. So certainly, campus by campus may have different resources that are available, but it seems that we're all moving in a direction of being able to help bridge that gap. So that's great. Okay, let me see what I have here. Are there any more, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read. Are there any of those message templates created so it's easier for people to contact officials and encourage others to do so for proposed legislation? So are there any prepared emails or statements that folks can sign on to, like online campaigns that will auto-generate an email to legislatures to let them know that this is an issue or concern on our campuses and in our communities?
On Hunger Free New Jersey, we do use Congress Plus, which actually does immediately send emails to members of our delegation. We are actually just in the process of hiring a communications director. We don't have anything specific around college hunger right now. That would be a broad message. Although the EATS Act is something, again, we want more people to sign on to. But if you keep going there, we will put something up, and that way you can sign on. But you can also sign on to receive advocacy alerts so that you know exactly what's going on and when pieces of legislation are coming up, and then you can weigh in when those pieces come up.
Adele, can I add a piece to that? If I and correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you had coached me, and we've worked with our community colleges on federal issues with FRAC. And FRAC does have outreach at the federal level. Food Research Action Council, am I right?
Center. It's the Food Research
Center.
and Action Center. Yeah. It's frac.org. They are really a great anti-hunger policy advocacy group in Washington, D.C., which again, I think we really need, specifically around SNAP, we need to focus on the Farm Bill asks that will be coming up. I don't know the timeline at this point, but so yeah, absolutely. Go to frac.org. There's lots of resources and you can really check on what's going on federally.
Great, thank you. So the information and the guides for advocacy are wonderful. Because the goal is to change federal policies, are you working with other states who are also committed to advocacy?
Absolutely. We are part of the FRAC network. We get on calls with national partners all the time. There is a national conference coming up. If you want to register for that conference, again, go to frac.org. And that is specifically a policy conference. I see the question. Yes, Senator Booker is absolutely in support of expansion of federal feeding programs to address college student hunger. We have really a pretty solid delegation in terms of support for these programs. So that's a good thing. But I think what we really need to focus on is that hunger can be a bipartisan issue. So the more they hear from you, the more they hear that college hunger is an issue, the better off all of us will be. So I just, again, encourage you to participate, make your voice heard in any way that you possibly can.
Do other states have similar grant programs like the Hunger Free Campus grant?
Actually, we just hooked Speaker Coughlin up with Massachusetts. They are in the process of trying to pass one of those acts. That's the only one I know of. Elisa, do you know of others?
I was just going to say, I think we should take credit that New Jersey was the first one.
This was a
Yay.
commitment that was,
But because
yeah.
I don't know of anyone else, but I think we can take credit.
And I would say this was a commitment of Governor Murphy before the pandemic and signing the Hunger Free Campus Act. And we've only, paid, that was a foundation for the unprecedented, as Secretary Bridges underscored, the 2 years that we've just encountered that was full of unexpectedness. So this really shows Governor Murphy's commitment from day one to address these problems. And this is something that we'll be doing now and in the future, as we know the pandemic's ripple effects are going to be felt for years to come.
And we have about 2 or 3 more minutes left for the Q&A. So I'm going to ask a question directed towards Deputy Commissioner Nera. Can you say more about the changes to SNAP work requirements for community college students enrolled in vocational, technical, Perkins funded courses? How do students who meet this criteria apply? How can colleges let their students know about this?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that question. And Jake, I remember and Adele, actually, all the credit to Adele for, I think it was the first, I always say this story because I think I was like here 1 week on the job, and one of the very first persons I heard from was Adele and said, hey, New Jersey, what are we doing with college students? There's a great opportunity. New Jersey's not taking advantage of this. And so we were like, what do we need to do? Tell me. And so we looked at what other student options there were, and CTEs, students who are enrolled in career technical education programs, and Jake is the expert on that, these programs meet the definition of SNAP employment and training, and therefore can meet that student condition. So we got together, figure out how we could make that work for students. There is information on our website about it, but in short, you are able to, let us know that you are enrolled in one of those programs. There's a form that you need to fill out as part of your application. Each college has a different person who signs off on that form to say, yes, we can certify that the student is enrolled in a CTE or a work study program. And that then becomes the paper that a student then submits. The form is available online. Students can go download it, fill it out, give it to their whoever in their community college is the person certifying that. And then that will go in their application so that they meet that student criteria. So we have a list of what those CTE programs are on our website. But Jake, I don't know if you want to say more about the CTE programs, but that was really a great way to add another option for students to meet that student condition.
Well, I would just add, Deputy Commissioner and Adele, thank you. Thank you for working to make that happen. It's a population of about 66,000 students at community colleges, 66,000, these CTE programs, which are designed for study for 2 years, get a job, as opposed to study for 2 years, transfer to the 4-year school, and then get a job or go on to grad school, so on and so forth. So it's critically important. We update that list. We update that list annually. We make sure all of our friends in state government have that list because sometimes programs are added, and we want to make sure we leave no stone unturned, and particularly for students who might be in need.
And I just want to take a minute and add Lisa Pitts to that. Thanks, because she was absolutely around that table and integral part of that conversation.
So I do want to acknowledge that a few people in the chat are saying that California, Minnesota, and some other states have passed similar legislation. So just to make sure we're not, taking credit away from anyone else, we are one of the leaders in the nation in terms of addressing college food insecurity. So
I can tell you from being in the Success Center network with 16 other states that represent 75% of the community college students in the country, we are the leader state, and they're following our lead.
Okay, sounds good. This is great. Well, we really appreciate all of the information that you've shared with us today. It's been very insightful. We appreciate the work that you all are doing. For someone, as a practitioner, on campus supporting students, it's a lot of heart work that we're doing. And it's really gratifying to see that you all care so much as well. And that, you know, we're in this together to help our students succeed. So thank you. We are going to have our friend Steph Galante lead us through a 1-minute mindfulness break. And then we will move on to our second panel. So again, I thank you all for being here today. I'm going to throw it over to Steph, and I wish everyone well.
Hello, friends. I am Steph Galante. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm joining you from the ancestral lands of the Lenni Lenape here in central New Jersey. And so I invite you for a minute to just join me, to ground, to uplift your energy, to release anything that is not settling right now. So if you want to stand, if you want to sit, it is up to you to find a position that feels supportive for you. You can close your eyes or have them open. And just connect to the breath. You're welcome to turn away from your screen or turn your screen off. And as you take a deep breath in, maybe you tilt the head towards the left ear to left shoulder, I should say. Inhale, bring the head to center and turn the head towards the right. So we'll just tilt the head side to side, nice and easily. And then we come back to center and we reach the arms out to the sides as we inhale. Exhale, give yourself a big hug. Feel a nice stretch through the back of the body. Inhale, reach out. Exhale, cross over. Reach those arms out, shake them out. And then maybe take a few side bends, feeling the feet firmly rooted into the ground, stretching nice and long, allowing yourself to just ease in here. And then finally coming back to stillness, to your breath. Feeling it come in and out nice and steadily, nice and easily. Allowing yourself a little bit of ease, a little bit of peace, and a little bit of focus. When you're ready, my friends, you can gently come back to the space in a way that feels good to you, slowly and softly. And I thank you for allowing me to join you today. Have a wonderful Friday and continue on doing this wonderful, important work. Thank you, everyone.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Steph. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Pitts, and I'm the Outreach Director for Hunger Free New Jersey. Today, we share with you just a few examples of innovative programs happening on New Jersey campuses right now. As you know, one of our goals for this conference is to build networks that provide opportunities for all of you to highlight your innovative programs and services with others from colleges throughout the state. We would like to give everyone an opportunity to share, so please feel free to utilize the chat feature to share innovative programs and services on your campus. And please be sure to include your contact information. We're going to collect all this information and share it with the conference attendees in the near future. Our conference planning committee is so pleased and excited to have worked with two amazing undergraduate filmmaking students from Mason Gross School of the Arts, Vaughn Batista and Sam Fenkel. These students have created brief documentaries about programs at a few colleges that have been designated as hunger-free campuses. We will have one person from each of the videos serve as a panelist, so I'm not going to introduce the panelists as they will introduce themselves on the videos about their programs. Feel free to type questions into the chat, and after we show all the videos and have brief comments from each panelist, we will open it up for Q&A for the group. So without further ado, we want to show our first video, which features the work being done to address food insecurity and food waste at Kean University.
If I were to describe the food insecurity on our campus is we take a survey every year, and currently 1/3 of our students have deemed themselves food insecure. And so that ranges from anywhere between students who are eligible for SNAP benefits, students who may be skipping a meal, and then also students who maybe, if they do know where their next meal is coming from, they have no access to healthy food. So the program I'm going to be describing is our food recovery program. And so someone on our staff had thought of a way to cut down on food waste. And so a text goes out to students who opt in, and they're able to receive a meal if it's available. We do identify some of our students that would benefit from this, and we recommend that they opt into this program. However, any student on campus can find the flyer and opt into this program through texting a number. Its biggest goal, and obviously its key benefit, is that by using the leftover food for students from events, we are able to both reduce food waste while providing food to students at no extra cost. I think that this fills the gap sometimes of a student doesn't know where that meal is coming from during the day, and they can get a text and go get either a meal during the day or a hot meal, in fact. The idea was raised by a member of the Center for Leadership and Service who noticed that there was a lot of leftover food at the end of the events that they would host. And so it used to be going from room to room, running around the building telling people that there's extra food, to a text system so students can come in and get a hot meal after. But I think our biggest advantage is that you can text opt-in and you don't have to download any app. It kind of cuts the barrier between those two things. And in fact, 15% of people still don't have a smartphone. So the idea that you can just text and the text comes back to you kind of opens this equitable access to this program. I would recommend this program to anybody that's asking, or any program or any school, because the point of it is to cut down on food waste, especially if we have food insecure students on campus. Food insecurity doesn't just take one person, one staff member. It takes a whole community to stop food insecurity or stop food waste in that way. So whatever I do or whatever a single person does, you kind of need the whole community around us to change the culture of how we see food on college campuses. So I think it's a culture, and it's also a group activity, not just a singular thought or program.
Fantastic work. Carla, would you like to share a reaction to the video?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Carla Vitola. I'm the Kean University's community care coordinator. My position is within the Student Affairs Department and also the Kean Wellness Center. I'm also a practicing marriage and family therapist, and I'm happy to share the food recovery program with you all. However, as you saw in the video, I can't take credit for the idea. One of our wonderful staff members at Kean University had brought the idea to life. I really appreciate Rutgers showcasing this program, because the truth is, anybody on this call listening, any university or college can implement this system, because it really is that easy. We use a system called Remind 101, but there are various platforms that could be used. And so the video does a great job at capturing one of my favorite things about the program, which is eliminating food waste and helping students. Obviously, we're all in this business to help students. So of course, the goal, which I don't mention in the video, is to order the exact amount of food for students, for student programming, and have zero waste. That's not always the reality. So a program that texts students where there's resources available lessens the amount of waste, and it also feeds students at no extra cost. Unfortunately, with the COVID-19 pandemic, the food recovery program was paused because of virtual programming and also safety precautions. However, Kean has never paused in helping students that have deemed themselves food insecure during that time. So we're hoping to safely relaunch this program this semester. So thank you so much again for showing this, and thank you all for hosting this.
Thank you, Carla. That's awesome. And hopefully people will have some questions and you can provide additional information during Q&A.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a video highlighting the work of Helping Hands at Ocean County College.
On campus, it is a difficult concept to prove to the campus that we actually do suffer, our students do suffer from food insecurity.
Food insecurity, as Ms. Mena stated, is only a part of it. It's all of the other things that encompass the issue.
And I think it's especially important on a community college campus. We have such a diverse population, and something like not being able to eat or shelter, utility payments can actually inhibit somebody from coming to class.
So in Helping Hands, we have very few staff members that oversee this area. We rely heavily on volunteers. And during the pandemic, we developed a partnership with the social work program on campus. So for us in Helping Hands, it took us to the next level. We were able to expand our hours. We were able to have all of these students input.
Yeah, so something that started off as something that, we had to do in order to, get our feet wet, kind of turned into something that we all wanted to make bigger, or at least I did, and I wanted to get involved more, and it kind of pushed me to do more than just the bare minimum, and it was kind of rewarding in a sense.
For me, it was more personal motivation. So when I was younger, I received food assistance, so it was nice to be able to help back in the same way. And it was kind of like a full circle moment that I got to be the one helping instead of the one receiving.
What was great is while we were in the food pantry, we had other students coming and asking, how can I get involved, So by us being open and us being in there, other people were able to come and say, we want to help, we want to bring in donations, we want to donate our time, and all these types of things.
I try, and I think that goes for everyone in here. You step outside your comfort zone and you try something, maybe that's outside of the realm that you thought was possible for yourself. And I feel like we all will be kind of amazed about some of the stuff we can do together,
But with the social work students, they have that inherent want and need to help people. They want to be here, and that makes a huge difference when you have volunteers who actually care about the program, not just getting that credit. So they brought all kinds of ideas to us and stuff that we could actually do easily that we just hadn't thought of yet. It was from their perspective as a student, as a social work student, and as a person who really want to just help other people.
Fantastic. As a social worker, I really love the idea of engaging social work students. Allison, would you like to say something about the video?
Sure. Don't know if my screen's popping up. So my name is Allison Noon, and I'm the Director of Student Support Services at Ocean County College. And I also have been overseeing the Helping Hands Pantry for the past few years. And I really liked how this video emphasized this unique program, this unique partnership that we have with our social work program. It was grown out of a problem. Our social work students weren't able to complete their practicum hours during the pandemic because people weren't taking volunteers at outside organizations, and we didn't have any other departments on campus that had this sort of ability to meet that credit. So for us, we kind of helped each other out. I needed volunteers during the pandemic, even though the actual pantry wasn't open, we were still providing food in other ways, drive-by distributions, dropping off to students with no transportation, et cetera. So when we came back on campus last fall, we just grew it to the next level. Our students were hosting events for us. They were promoting the pantry with word of mouth and flyers and having different events and open house type energy they kind of brought to the pantry was elevated. They stayed in the pantry too and stocked shelves for us, which was great. But overall, the benefit that came out of that was immeasurable. They were able to help us reduce that stigma by being present in the pantry. They'd hang out in the pantry on their free time and do their homework at the tables. So that gave it a different feeling when you walked in. There were other students spending time in there, not just students, quote unquote, in need. So that really did help us improve the amount of students that would come in willingly. And also it was highlighted in the video very briefly, but a few of our social work students were actually people who've needed the pantry in the past. So it gave them the opportunity to kind of give back. They were on their feet now, they were in a better spot, And it was easy for them to feel like they were doing something, they were paying it forward. And another problem that it ended up helping was we have students in our social work program who do have transportation issues and they aren't able to get to those outside sites to complete those hours, and it either excluded them from their program or caused them to change their major. And now they were able to just worry about getting a ride here on campus. We were able to fill those hours in between classes or after classes, and we made it convenient for them to get involved and also complete those required hours. So for us, I think the main takeaway would be not just to look at other organizations outside, community organizations, or even other departments, but to look at our own students for help and ideas, and how we can help them can really come from their mouths.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And again, you'll have opportunity to share more about your wonderful program, and folks will have a chance to ask you some questions as well. Our final video features Rutgers, New Brunswick's Screen and Intervene program.
My name is Jennifer Wiseman. I'm a family nurse practitioner here at Rutgers Student Health. I work at Hurtado Health Center.
My name is Kara Cute. I'm an assistant professor and an assistant extension specialist in the Department of Human Ecology at Rutgers, New Brunswick.
Food insecurity is a problem for students. Sometimes it's a temporary problem where they just don't have enough for that particular week or that particular month. For some people, it's a chronic problem where they really don't feel like they know where their next meal is coming from the entire year. When you can't find enough to eat, it makes it hard to concentrate, it makes it hard to do well on tests, so it really can impact a student in a lot of different ways. We're trying to make a difference in food insecurity here at Rutgers by screening for it, learning how to identify the students who are experiencing food insecurity, and then also get them the resources that they need. The way that we're trying to do that is by making it part of a healthcare visit. And every semester, students are asked to fill out a personal health history form. And as part of that, we've added a screener for food insecurity. That screener is just 2 different questions that ask people whether they've had worries about whether they were going to have enough money to get enough food for the month, or if they actually did run out of food for the month. And that helps us, if they answer those questions positively, we can then at their healthcare visit give them information about food resources, both with the Dean of Students as well as a referral to the food pantry.
One of the reasons that we think this is such an effective program is because it's coming from a healthcare practitioner, right? So it's not just someone saying, hey, you know, there's a pantry on campus. It's someone saying, in a clinical setting, you might be having a hard time affording food, and here's something I'm recommending that you go and get these services. So we really think that it helps students to get over that feeling of, well, I know that there's a pantry, but it's not for students like me, or I know that there are resources out there, but I don't think I'm the student that's supposed to be using those.
The other thing is that it's really, really easy to give them the information. We had developed these cards that have, it looks like a food prescription, food resources prescription. So it's like a referral card. It looks medical, and it has all of the relevant information and a QR code so they can do a virtual tour of the food pantry. On the back, it talks about what food insecurity can do that's negative for their health. Like it makes them have more trouble focusing or concentrating. They might feel fatigued, they might miss class, they might have a lower GPA. And so this makes it feel like a medical intervention.
We've also heard from the people on the front lines who are seeing students that students are often really appreciative of receiving these cards. By and large, the students have basically said, thank you very much. Either I didn't know about the pantry or I didn't think the pantry was something that I should be using. And there's been a very positive reaction from the students as well as the clinical staff. I think this is a wonderful program that could be implemented relatively easily. We have resources that we are very happy to share and to work with any other schools that are interested in doing this. We really want to be a resource to help other schools implement this program on their campuses.
This was such an exciting program for us, and it was something that was so easy. It made such perfect sense, and yet it was an area that we hadn't really addressed before.
So we just think that it's something that has been appreciated and accepted, and really a successful program.
Great. Another wonderful way to reach the students with valuable resources. Jennifer, would you like to share a reaction about the video?
Sure. I was really excited and still am excited to be part of the project. And one thing I really would like to emphasize, besides the fact that we would be happy to share resources, just contact myself or Dr. Kara Cute regarding what we can give to people and how we can help you implement this yourself. The other thing I wanted to mention is that even though we're very busy in a health center dealing with a pandemic and seeing students all the time, this was not difficult for us to fit into the healthcare visit. Those 2 questions on that screener are very quick to look at and see if this is a positive or negative screen. And the resource can either be sent to the student through the electronic medical record as an educational resource, or given the actual direct card. That takes just a couple of seconds, and most of the time students don't have a lot of questions. The nurses can do it, or the clinician can do it, depending on who has the opportunity or who notices that the screener is positive. And at first, when we were doing the training, people were thinking, oh my gosh, how can we fit in more questions? We're already screening for depression and smoking and drug use and alcohol and eating disorders and everything else. But this was really simple to implement. A lot of students actually would also see the cards just on our desks, and they might say, well, I don't have this problem, but my housemate does, or I know somebody who could really benefit from this. So even when it wasn't a student we were directly interacting with, we were able to get the word out about the programs available as well, which was really rewarding to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So at this time, we are going to open it up for Q&A with all of our members of the panel. So please, again, put questions in the chat box, and let's learn more about how these programs were developed and how they work. So I'm going to look and see. Sorry, screen's open here. Okay, I see a question, and this looks like it's a general question for all the panelists. Do any of you have partnerships with outside community organizations to provide additional support for students? For example, food banks, food pantries, emergency assistance organizations, county boards of social services. So I'll put that out there for whoever wants to answer.
Sure, I guess I'll start. We are partnered up with the Community Food Bank of New Jersey in Hillside. They provide us food and different types of assistance. Another partner we have, it's kind of an unofficial one, Stop and Shop, has been really, really kind to us with gift cards and different items from the grocery store. And our other partner, which is also connected with the Community Food Bank, is our SNAP Ed program. And they come onto campus, they help students sign up for SNAP, and they also do educational and nutritional programming for our students when we ask them to. So those are our 3 big go-tos.
That's great.
Same here. We have some of our major partners are Fulfill, which is our local food bank here, and ShopRite donates gift cards to us, as well as local restaurants like Jersey Mike's give us smaller increments, and Wawa give us smaller increments of gift cards to give to our students. And then we also have a township food distribution that works with us. It's at a local Presbyterian church. Every Friday, it's been going on since day 1 of the pandemic. and they either bring us the leftovers or we go pick them up in one of our college vehicles. We use those to either deliver to students who have transportation issues and aren't able to come to the distribution themselves, or to be able to give out fresh food. They do have produce and breads and things like that that we don't normally stock. So we're able to get that on campus and help our students out.
That's terrific. Partnerships are so important.
I know that the Dean of Students also has a lot of resources that they're able to give to students directly. And I know that our food bank, our food pantry also accepts donations from a variety of sources. But specifically, like I said, as far as outside resources, the Dean of Students frequently will get people in touch with the community food banks or other resources that students might qualify for.
Fantastic. And I see in the chat, we have a question for you, Carla. Becky's wondering what kind of software King University uses to text students.
As of right now, we've been using Remind 101. It's a free software up until 100 users. So we have, excuse me, been looking into purchasing the larger version because of kind of the overflow. We hadn't needed it until now. So before, when we were doing it, we were okay with the 100 students that had opted in. We're seeing an increase in people who would be interested in the program. So Remind 101, there is a free version, but then I think we're looking to purchase the larger one.
Great. And another question, has anyone used billboards or pamphlets on campus to get the word out about food resources? And I guess a broader question to that is, how do you promote your services and let students know that you're there and what you're offering?
We try to cover all bases because Carla mentioned about the students not all having smartphones. So, you know, the campus does do a lot of email. We have a campus engagement app that we use, but we don't want to count those students out who don't have access to those devices. So we do hang flyers up, we do walk around, we do tabling, we pass out flyers, we pass out business cards, and we reach our colleagues around the campus with additional information about us that they can spread the word and use word of mouth as well.
Terrific. Another question is, with the food pantry referral program, have you seen many repeat customers? Meaning, do students tend to come back after that initial prescribed visit? That's for you, Jen.
As far as that, I do know that there are repeat customers, people who come in more than once. The Carrie Wilson would have the most information about that, and I know that the food pantry will do some tracking of students, although they don't ask any questions that would make students feel uncomfortable about being able to use the resources. The food bank is open to single use type situations as well as repeat customers.
Terrific. And I'm going to stay with you, Jen, for a second. There's another question. How can other colleges implement a similar screen and intervene program if they don't have a health services office? Do you have any suggestions or any other ways you can think of to incorporate this screening tool? Seems fairly easy to use.
It is an easy screening tool to use, and I think that there are a number of different ways we could consider using it. If you don't have health services but do have any type of place where students are filling out demographic information, these questions could be included in that screener. If people are accessing other types of services on campus, through, I'm thinking as far as like when they're turning in their information for immunizations on campus, maybe this is something that could be looked at as a demographic, part of a demographic screen, just including these two questions. I could even imagine in certain courses, people including this on either a syllabus or on some sort of questionnaire that students are given when people are, if people are being asked about any challenges they're facing, or when professors are giving, trying to get information about their students about, you know, any sort of disability or any sort of things that the student would like the professor to know. So these would all be options or areas where people could be screened. Now, if it was not through the health services department, probably the intervention would look a little bit different. Instead of being like a referral or a prescription card type of situation, it might look a little different in that situation, but it could be the same idea.
Wonderful. And this is a general question, I guess, for all three of the panelists. How would you all recommend supporting students who are also facing time constraints? For example, working or work study during dining hall pantry hours?
I think that's where we try to stay creative and keep thinking of new ways to get people food. So our pantry hours shift each semester, depending on the volunteers' hours, available hours. So we know that there's going to be people that need food outside of those hours. We don't have at a community college a meal plan or anything like that for students to utilize too, which is another hindrance for them. So we do share on all of our advertisements about the pantry how to get emergency meals. We stock individual prepackaged meals. We have microwaves within the pantry and also in public spaces. So if you were to pick up a frozen meal, a prepared frozen meal from our pantry, you can go heat it up on your own in the cafeteria. It's open from 8 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m. at night, even when the cafeteria is closed, so they can go and help themselves. And we also do station around the campus in different areas snack kits with protein bars and grab and go types of snacks. So they don't even have to make it all the way to the pantry if they're on the other side of campus. They can find one of those locations too to grab and go to get through the day.
Wonderful. Carla?
So currently, we obviously know that there are hours that offices, quote unquote, end and close and don't have open hours. But something that we have put some work into at the university is our commuter resource center. There was talk of people between classes sitting in their cars, watching Netflix in their cars, eating in their cars, just because there wasn't really like a place for them on campus because we have a big commuter school. So they had put a lot of work into the front of our library where our Starbucks is as a commuter resource center. So there's a refrigerator in there, there's a microwave. There are various places on campus that also have those amenities. But that is something that I believe does cut the gap in the students that don't really have any place to go in the middle and maybe need to heat up food or grab food and sit somewhere with it that's quiet and safe.
That's great. I love that idea. It's terrific. And someone asked a question near and dear to my heart. Does anyone include information on advocacy while providing food resources?
That's a good one. I have been fortunate enough to be paired with our Kane Wellness Center, where our pantry is and where my office is. And so our advocate actually for students is within health services, which is right next door to me, which is right next door to the counseling center. So we are all kind of linked up on one program. So when a student needs one service, the other offices are aware of it. So we are really, really putting in the work for that, because usually when you see one hole with a student or one insecurity, you're seeing some other ones. So for us, we do feel it's necessary to advocate with the student for the whole wellness center to kind of fill that wellness wheel that we all like to talk about.
Yeah, it's really important. Does anyone else want to add anything to that? Okay. And we have a couple of more questions. We actually also had a comment in the chat box in terms of resources. And again, I would encourage everybody to sort of look at the thread, because people are putting in different resources and different innovations and programs that they're operating. But we had a comment from Victoria, who is the community health worker for SNAP Ed at the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, a wonderful organization with whom many of you already partner. If you're interested in connecting your students who are using your food pantries with SNAP, they have a wonderful SNAP application and enrollment program. They have funds for different programs, after school programs, campus pantries, and free nutrition workshops. And that kind of leads me to another question that I had. Of your pantries and the services you provide, do any of you screen the students who come for help to see if they're eligible for SNAP and or assist them with the SNAP application?
I know that, yes, we do at our programs, both through the food pantry and also through the Dean of Students. People are screened to see if they would qualify for other services that would be longer lasting than perhaps just the visit to the food pantry itself.
Wonderful. Anybody else?
That is something that we began last semester with really pushing our students to read more about what the qualifications are for SNAP, helping them look through the qualifications, pull up the application online with them. In previous years, we didn't have the space to do something like that. Now we have the space for the students to come in and talk with them. We have a dedicated staff member in there who can walk students through the application and qualification screening process. So yeah, we're still just getting started with that. It probably started in the middle of last semester, but that is something that we're looking to do more of.
Something that's brand new to our university is we like to call it Cougar Connections. They started in the summer and they're our Center for Social Work. And so that team has been crucial to connecting students to more resources. So when I find that I do have that repeat person in the pantry, I often ask them if they're seeing anything else in their lives and if they would be okay with me making a referral to them. And with the social work team, they do the holistic view of the student to see what kind of needs are needed for them. And so they do that heavy lifting for me, which I'm very, very grateful for them.
That's fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, and we have a couple of other questions here. This one is for Allison. Allison, how do you handle confidentiality when social work students are assisting other students in helping hands?
Before our students are accepted into the volunteer program for the social work practicum hours, they go through a screening process. They have to be referred by their professor. They're trained on the operations of the pantry, and they're also they also sign a confidentiality agreement. We also do have them working in there at a limited engagement with the student. So when it would come down to, for example, pre-screening for SNAP or talking about financial aid, that would be something that would be referred to our coordinator of student basic needs, the professional staff member. The student might mention it to them, give them information about it, direct them to the website, help them with their food. But then when it gets to that level where you're talking about some more personal details like that, confidential details, that's when it would get referred to our coordinator.
Great. Because I know that that does come up sometimes in a lot of sort of student run food pantries, like how do you handle that? So that's terrific. Do Carla and Jen, do you use student volunteers at all? And if so, how do you handle that?
As of right now, we do not have student volunteers. I did have a LEAP intern, it comes from another office on campus, but they were more behind the scenes of stocking and helping me with tasks, not really with student interaction. I am looking into the future of potentially utilizing a graduate assistant, but we haven't gotten to the point where we have the student to student interaction just yet. But I do love the idea of using the social work students.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would have to defer the answer to that question as far as the food bank to Carrie Wilson, but I do know that we have some student workers and student volunteers in the health centers, and anyone who works in that setting has to go through the training for HIPAA and everything, so that they are all aware of confidentiality and aware of protected information and so on. So in order to participate in any of those programs through the actual health center, they have to go through all of the appropriate training for confidentiality.
Great, wonderful. Well, this has been really informative. The videos were fantastic. And then having you all here to answer these questions and walk folks through how they can implement some of these programs on their campuses has been wonderful. We've been getting a lot of really, really terrific feedback in the chat box too from other colleges and universities in terms of what they're doing. and all the innovations and all the wonderful work that's happening all throughout the state. So thank you so, so much for being here with us today and for all the wonderful information that you provided. Okay, so for our next segment here, again, I want to thank everyone for the Q&A, for all the thoughtful questions that came through. And again, we know there are a lot of wonderful programs out there. We wish we could highlight every single one of them, but we will be connecting with each other so that we can continue to share these ideas and resources moving forward. Once again, I'd really like to thank the student documentarians for doing an amazing job with the videos. And for the final segment of the conference, we're going into breakout rooms to do some networking and to identify at least one action item that each of us can take forward in our efforts to address student food insecurity. And to present us with our charge, here is Nikhil Southarangani to introduce the breakout rooms. So Nikhil is the president of Rutgers, New Brunswick student body. Nikhil?
Thank you, Lisa. Hello, everyone. My name is Nikhil Southarangani. I'm a senior at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, and I'm the student body president of the Rutgers University Student Assembly, or RUSA. I'm thrilled to see the energy and passion that's being directed towards tackling the issue of student food insecurity head-on. This issue is something that impacts thousands of students and something that RUSA has hoped to address as we've contributed to and partnered with the Rutgers Food Pantry to work towards a future in which no student goes hungry. The beauty of conferences like these is our ability to collaborate and use our collective effort towards developing action items, tangible steps that we can all take on our own campus to make a difference. Students across the state are counting on us to take meaningful action. We're now going to be going into small breakout groups. As we break out into these smaller groups, our task is to envision hunger-free college in New Jersey and identify one concrete thing that you personally, regardless of your role, can bring to campus or a campus near you that will advance efforts towards a more food-secure campus community. So at this time, you're going to be randomly assigned to a breakout room, and we're going to be working on our plans of action.
We really work to change policy and practice. Our whole mission is to ensure that everyone in New Jersey has access to healthy food every day. We do that by educating the public and policymakers about hunger, its causes and solutions. And then we also mobilize diverse organizations in an attempt to really work together to really push for sweeping changes to policies and programs that improve access to healthy food. Next slide, please. So to that end, we are launching a brand new coalition specifically focused on college hunger. It is the New Jersey Hunger-Free Campus Network. And we will be working collaboratively with diverse groups from throughout the state, really to try to address college hunger. We will look at broad range of solutions. We will share ideas and resources. A lot of the conversations that started today will continue. Everything from how you can, expand your services on campus to, improving access to SNAP. And we'll engage others in our work. Next slide, please. Who can join? Everyone here today. Faculty, staff, administrators from colleges and universities, concerned citizens, community organizations, and especially students are strongly encouraged to participate. And you can sign up by using this link, and I'll also put the link in the chat box so that you can click right on it and it'll come out later in the notes as well. So thank you all, and I look forward to working with all of you to continue to fight hunger and ensure that no college student in our state struggles with food insecurity. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kara.
Great, thank you so much, Lisa. And thanks to everyone for hanging in there with us. We've come to the end of our time together. And we really appreciate all of your participation, your excitement, your energy in doing this important work. And I know in my breakout room, we had a great discussion about including graduate students and staff and faculty in our approach to addressing food insecurity and basic needs insecurity in higher education. So I think we might have our topic for our next conference when we convene again, and it really is just about expanding and looking more holistically at our campuses. So I just have the honor of thanking everyone on behalf of our conference planning committee. We have a couple of folks that we really need to thank, especially Governor Murphy, Secretary of Higher Education, Dr. Brian Bridges, Speaker Coughlin, President Holloway, Vice Chancellor Mena, our wonderful keynote speaker from yesterday, Dr. Rashida Crutchfield, all of our panelists. We had a lot of them, so I'm just going to say a blanket thank you to our panelists. Our thank you to Nikhil Sotharangani, who is our RUSA president. A very huge thank you to our breakout room facilitators for their flexibility and for all of their help. We literally could not have had these really great discussions without all of you leading the rooms. It was wonderful. We want to thank again our amazing student videographers, Vaughn Batista and Sam Fenkel, who we're hoping that they're going to be able to film more videos of other innovative programming that's happening around the state. And so if you want your program featured, reach out and let us know. We'd be happy to try to make that work. We received amazing technical and design support from the Division of Student Affairs at Rutgers, New Brunswick, particularly Joseph Rudowski and Michael Dalla and his team. We cannot thank them enough. The planning team in particular, I just want to personally thank Dr. Stephanie Brescia of the Rutgers Graduate School of Education, Lisa Pitts from Hunger Free New Jersey, Carrie Wilson and Barbara Blackwell from the Rutgers Student Food Pantry, Dr. Ann Newman from the Rutgers New Brunswick Office of the Dean of Students, Judy Keller from the Division of Student Affairs, Sam DeMars from the Graduate School of Education, and Hend Albury from Pantry at Rutgers New Brunswick. Want to thank Steph Galante for her providing her meditation breaks. And then finally, for the funding for this conference, we thank the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education of the State of New Jersey for the Hunger Free Campus grant that came to Rutgers, New Brunswick. We do ask that you complete a evaluation. If we could pull that slide up. We will also send that out by email, but we would really appreciate if you could provide us some feedback. And then finally, on behalf of the whole team, I would like to thank you all for attending and for all that you do to address college student food insecurity in New Jersey and beyond. No matter our role, we all have a role to play in this work, and we hope that this conference connected you to new ideas, to potential collaborators, and to the energy to continue the great work that we see happening around the state of New Jersey. So thank you all so very much.